So, for anyone who is new to ReadWorks, or if you're returning and you're looking for a refresher, I'm going to walk you through an overview of the resources that we provide by grade bands. And so, you all know that there are a variety of needs in any given classroom, right? And including different grade levels in any given classroom. So, as I move through this, I want you to be thinking about ways that you can differentiate with these resources. So, perhaps you see a product that maybe won't work for your entire class, but perhaps it would work for a small group intervention. So let's start by talking about the K to 2 decodables. We recently launched second grade decodables. We had the kindergarten and first grade decodables available. And so now we've expanded to include second grade decodables. For anyone who's not familiar, ReadWorks decodables are nonfiction. By reading these decodable texts, students are building background knowledge while applying their alphabetic knowledge and decoding skills in the context of meaningful, continuous text. The threshold of decodability can vary for many decodable texts, but the majority of ReadWorks decodables are at least 90% decodable, which means at least 90% of the words can be decoded by the student and will adhere to various phonics scope and sequences like foundations. ReadWorks decodables can be supplemented with the phonics curriculum that you are already using. If you teach third grade or fourth grade, but you have students reading below grade level, right? You may still want to use these to support your interventions. If you would like to know more about the ReadWorks decodables, I recommend registering for the live webinar that's taking place next week on Thursday, July 25th. It's part of our Science of Reading Beyond Phonics webinar series. Next week, starting on the 23rd, I'll be walking you through which products to help you build background knowledge, vocabulary, phonics skills. So definitely head over to readworks.org/webinar. This webinar is brand new. It's completely free. And I hope that you can join me, and I hope that you spread the word and tell some of your colleagues as well. We were able to pilot the decodables spring of this year, and I wanted to show some of the results from that pilot. Students increased an average of 37% on their pseudo or nonsense word fluency. This growth exceeded the students' expected growth goals. Students increased in their comprehension of the decodables, as shown in teacher observation of their responses during small group discussions. Students' confidence in their own reading abilities increased, a key contributor to their strong post-assessment scores as observed by their teachers. And finally, teachers reported an increased understanding of how to build early readers' background knowledge while supporting their word recognition skills, as well as the value of doing so. Before I move on, I also want to let you know, again, if you're thinking about differentiating, maybe you have students, third or fourth grade, or just older students in general that may benefit from this. The decodables are written in a way where it is not assumed that the reader is a young child. So if you have older students who could benefit from decoding practice, it's still a really powerful resource to support your students with. Now, I'm going to talk to you about Article a Day. Again, the grade bands are K to 8, but you might have older students who could still benefit from this. Researchers have shown that reading sets of texts that are conceptually or thematically related can be particularly beneficial for building knowledge. So the Article a Day routine is a 10-minute daily routine that is supported by research around building background knowledge and vocabulary. Prior knowledge impacts student reading comprehension, They cannot understand a passage that they have no contextual knowledge around. Research studies have shown that on grade level readers and below grade level readers show high levels of reading comprehension after they read a text on topics they have prior knowledge of. And furthermore, below grade level readers with background knowledge outperform on grade level readers who don't have background knowledge. So there's a lot of benefits to using Article a Day with your students. Students read articles about the same topic over the course of a week, and then they record what they learn in the book of knowledge. And because it takes 10 minutes, you can tie it into various parts of your day. So, for example, as a teacher, I use this routine during morning meeting. It would be bright work in the morning as kids were coming in. They could do it during snack time, or if I was really pressed for time at the end of the day during pack up. But students really do find the Article a Day routine to be interesting and enjoyable, and you'll overhear really fun conversation about the passages. So, as knowledge is built over time, students can understand more and more challenging texts with Article a Day. And when reading or listening to and discussing a set of texts about birds, for example, students are likely to encounter words like nesting, migrate, and multiple times across the text. And so studies have shown that this natural repetition in meaningful contexts benefits word learning. So you're building that vocabulary. You can also differentiate by including audio. So that's a great way to support your below grade level readers, pre-fluent readers, ELL students, right? And so if you teach older grades, but you have students reading below grade level, this is still a really valuable resource. Now I'm going to go over the steps in the Article a Day routine. It's just 4 easy steps. First, you set the purpose for reading. It takes less than 30 seconds. Just kind of build that excitement in the classroom. Like, okay, students, as you know, Article a Day helps us build our knowledge. Let's get into it. Then students can read or listen to an article from a set of topically connected articles. Students can write or draw their book of knowledge entries. And then finally, you can have students share aloud. Now, there are restraints with time. Sometimes that share would look like a quick turn and talk, right? You can't always fit in a classroom discussion. That's okay. But it is really important to get students talking about what they've learned. All right. The next product that I want to tell you about, I'm very excited about. And I'm sure that there's some teachers with ELL students here. So if you do have ELL students or you expect to have ELL students in your class next year, I want you to just let me know in the chat and say like, hey, I have ELL students. So we have brand new Spanish English paired texts available for grades 2 to 5. This is so exciting. Teachers have been reaching out, asking for resources to really support their ELL students. And finally, I'm just so excited to share this wonderful news with you. And I see folks in the chat. Yes. So I will walk you through how to locate these Spanish English paired texts in my demo. And I'm so glad that you are here and can learn more about them. So the Spanish English paired text, this is just another example of a product that we've developed with the most up-to-date research on building background knowledge and vocabulary and strengthening strategic reading. These paired texts were created with students in mind. Audio support is available to students, so they can listen to the passages in Spanish and in English. And many of the passages are also written by heritage speakers who come from diverse backgrounds, like ELL students themselves. The Spanish English paired texts also foster a sense of inclusion in your classroom, as they allow you to bring your ELL students into the class discussions without having to take time away from the lesson. There's 3 components. First, there's a Spanish language text, then there's an English language text, and then a comprehension question set for the English passage. I'm going to just share the routine with you if you're using the Spanish English paired texts. I'm sorry, let me go back one because I just want to remind you again. A copy of the slides that I'm using are available to you if you click on the green button that says resources. I'm presenting a lot of information to you today, and I know some folks like to kind of sit and read through things. And so if I'm moving really quickly for you, please know that you can click on the green resources button and you can actually get a copy of the slides so you can really like sit and read with, take your time and read these. Okay, let me continue. So here's the routine. First, students will read the Spanish language passage. Then they read the English language passage. And then they complete the comprehension question set, which strengthens strategic reading. I will walk you through how to locate these, but if you want to know more about this product, please register for my live webinar. It's called Bridging Languages, Harnessing Spanish English Paired Texts for ELL Success. That's taking place on August 20th, 2024. Head over to readworks.org/webinars. You'll see the full calendar. But really register so you can dive in deeper and just learn more about how to use these Spanish English paired texts. Again, focusing on building that background knowledge, here's another product that's based on the research-backed article a day routine that builds background knowledge. That would be our book studies. And we have book studies available for grades 3 to 12. These are hand-curated text sets that are aligned with the most commonly taught books in ELA curricula. They also include question sets to support reading practice. And they were designed for teachers to pick them up right away and customize them. So in each text set, you'll have up to 7 passages. And you can decide which passages are the most relevant to the class discussions you plan on having or the assignments you plan on giving. You can even adjust the start and end dates of those assignments. So if you're using the digital classroom and you're assigning book studies, for you, it just takes, a couple seconds to assign it. But for your students, they'll log in every day and see a new book study pop up for them. So I'll show you how to locate them and how to assign them. And just to kind of sum up, thinking about all the products we offer that support building background knowledge and vocabulary. Again, I'm going to remind you, next week is our Science of Reading Beyond Phonics webinar series. It starts on the 23rd on Tuesday. And the first webinar in that series is The Power of Knowing, Building Background Knowledge with ReadWorks. And we'll dive deeper into article a day and book studies. So I really do hope to see you there. Readworks.org/webinars. Register. Can't wait to see you there. Okay. Now thinking about K to 12, right? We also have alignments and connections. And in my demo, I'll be sure to point out how to locate these. But depending on the curricula that you're using, and as I mentioned before, ReadWorks isn't a curriculum, but we supplement lots of curriculum, and we want to make it easy for you to do that. So if you're using Amplify CKLA, if you're in Florida, we have a special Florida edition for grades K to 5. We have that EL education alignment, Fish Tank, Wit and Wisdom. We also have connections to the next generation science standards. All right. Again, thinking about K to 12, when you're assigning passages and question sets to your students, if you're familiar, you have the option to add a vocabulary activity. So this is going to give your students a chance to play around with key academic words. They have an opportunity to explore parts of speech, word families, sound spelling connections, word parts, and word networks. They get to engage with the vocabulary multiple times, and research shows that this is important for students to internalize new vocabulary words. So let me show you how this works. Before reading, students will have a chance to reflect on their understanding of the word. This is ungraded, and they can move their slider as they reflect on their knowledge of the word. I also want to point out these icons, the audio icons. That just means students can click on them to listen to directions being read out loud, or the word that it appears next to, they can listen to it. Then they read that passage, they complete another activity that allows them to drag parts of the word down and they can hear the words said aloud. And then finally, after they read the passage, they get another chance to review their understanding of those vocabulary words. And this is completely ungraded, but it's a great way to really build that vocabulary and make it sticky, making sure that they remember it and they're more likely to use those vocabulary words and recognize them in other texts. Our passages and text dependent question sets are our most popular product. So if you are not new to ReadWorks, I'm sure you are familiar with our passages and question sets. They provide scaffolded practice because they follow a consistent template. They help readers engage with text and dig deeply into what they're reading. And research shows that students benefit from regularly completing question set assignments. I also want to remind you that, we have those differentiation tools for you. So you can include audio, you can support your pre-fluent readers, your below grade level readers, and English language learners. I'm going to transition over to a slide that has a lot of information. And I want to remind you again that if you click on the green button at the bottom of your screen that says resources, you can access a copy of the slides. So you can really take your time and read through them because I know I'm moving a little bit quickly. All right. So our text-dependent question sets provide carefully scaffolded practice in activating prior knowledge about text structure, inferring, monitoring, and clarifying and questioning. They help readers engage with text and really dig deeply into what they're reading. And our research shows that students benefit from regularly completing our question sets. Their multiple choice question correct rate increases as they do the question sets. And so our question sets follow a consistent template. The first question will always ask for explicit information. Then students will answer questions around text structure, conclusions and evidence, and inferential questions. So by the time they get to the fifth question, they've done enough work to develop the main idea. So the fifth question will always ask about main idea or theme. Depending on the needs of your students, or even depending on the amount of time you have, right? You can select just 5 questions. That would be our express set, or you can give them additional practice with the full question set. And the full question set also includes open-ended questions that are typically inferential, right? So it's a great opportunity to get your students writing and citing evidence from the text in their responses. Something else that's really great about using assigning passages in the digital classroom is that their work is automatically graded for the multiple choice questions. But if you prefer to print them out, you can do that, grade them yourself, use any tracking system that you use to keep track of the types of questions students are doing well with or having a hard time with. But I will say a benefit to assigning in the digital classroom is that you get that information right away. So as soon as you log in and you see that they've completed it, you can see the question that they, had a hard time with, and you can decide to reassign, or, maybe it's related to a teaching point in an upcoming lesson. And question sets for kindergarten are picture based. So I have just gone over so many different things. And I want to walk you through the website and how to locate all of the products that I've named. And I want to point out how to assign things. First, I'm going to show you what it looks like from the teacher account. Then I'm going to sign into a student account, and you can see the great features that we have that students get to interact with. You'll also notice while I'm doing this, I'm looking away from the camera, but that's just because I have a second screen here. So I'm still with you. So here we are at readworks.org. If you are new to ReadWorks, you can sign up by clicking on this button here. It takes less than a minute to get started. I'm going to sign into my account. Okay. So this will always take you to the home page where we update this often, and we, just keep you updated with what's new at ReadWorks. Earlier, I asked you if you were familiar with the teacher guide, and many of you said no. So I want to start off by pointing out where the teacher guide is. On the top right, the teacher guide is here between donate and alignments. And the teacher guide is where you can learn even more about our research backed approach to improving reading comprehension. We also offer guidance on how to use our content and activities effectively. So, this is a really great place to start if you're new or if you're a returning user and you aren't familiar with it because you're so used to just going to the content page. Take some time, check out the teacher guide. There's so much information and links to helpful pages with videos and tutorials and the research behind our product. So it's a very rich and valuable resource to have. Now I'm going to head over to the content page. Um, we've updated our filters, right, with all these new products that we have. So definitely use the filters on the left side of the content page to hone in on what it is that you need. Like I said before, we have thousands of passages. We have over 6,000 passages on our website. So the filter is going to help you find exactly what you need. Let's see. So here on the left, I'm just going to point out a few great features under the content type. You can locate article a day. You can find question sets, reading passages. One really amazing thing that I would do as a teacher, because now it's the summer. I know a lot of you are, planning for what you want to do for the upcoming school year. And a really challenging issue to deal with is summer slowdown, right? Sometimes, you start the year and you kind of just want to get a gauge on where students are with their reading. I would often print out reading passages, filter by grade level, and print those out, fiction and nonfiction, and pull students to just do like an informal assessment with them. So that's a really great way to kind of address summer slowdown at the start of the school year. So yeah, I've spent all this time telling you about our products. I want to just kind of dig in and tell you how to find them. So I started out telling you about the decodables. So there's multiple ways to locate the decodables. You can click here under content type, and that's going to generate all of the decodables from K to 12. You'll also see the letter sound foci next to the decodables icon. A really great way to locate decodables, since we do recommend using it with article a day, is by looking at the article a day scope and sequence. So here, like I mentioned before, article a day is designed for K to 8. But again, if you're thinking about differentiating and you have various needs in your classroom, even if you teach older grades, you might still find this useful. The decodables are available for K to second. So I'm going to go ahead and click on second grade. And I will head on over to October. That's where the decodables are introduced in our scope and sequence. And I'll go here to week 3. Oh, before I do that, you can also assign article a day for the entire month on this page just by clicking on the assign button like that. And then from there, you can select audio, great way to differentiate and support ELL learners, below grade level readers. You can include boost articles, challenge articles. A boost article is going to be written at the grade level below, and challenge article is written at the grade level above. So that's another opportunity to differentiate. And you can also include decodables if you're selecting a kindergarten to second grade level article a day set. Okay. So I'm going to just click on week 3 here. And I'm going to head on over to assign. So remember, we want to support students with audio. Again, those boost articles and challenge articles, great way to differentiate. And let's say that you're teaching a class that, you want them to use the decodable, select decodable so that when they log into their accounts, they'll see it. We also offer a lot of different options for how students interact with article a day, right? Maybe you want them to read the same articles. So every time they log in, they see a new article to read. Maybe you want to give them some choice, right? Student choice definitely helps in making it more engaging, or just have them choose any article in the set. So when they log in, they'll just see all of the passages for that week. If you have multiple classes, you can go ahead and select that class. Another really great feature, if you have students, ELL students, you can, when you're entering your class, you can select their home language. And so now when you turn on this feature, they can see directions, they can see and listen to directions in their home language. You can also customize the start date and end date. When do you want students to turn this in by? And you can go ahead and assign that. Like I said before, I'll be logging in as a student in a little bit so you can actually see what that looks like for the student. Another great way to use article a day, you can print these out. You can print out, one article at a time, the whole set. You can also include the decodables. Something else that I'd like to point out to you, while you can select audio for article a day, for decodables, there is no audio because we want students to apply their phonics skills on their own independently. So even when you select audio, students are going to have a chance to read that decodable text independently. We also include a helpful teacher edition in the decodables. So you'll see the letter sound foci, and you'll also see the prerequisite letter sound foci. What did students need to master before this part of the scope and sequence? We include the foundations alignment if you use foundations, and we include those non-decodable challenge words, the decodability percentage. Like I said before, the majority of our decodables are at least 90% decodable. The target skill word percentage is related to the letter sound foci. So in this text, that means that 10% of the words in this text are going to have glued sounds, welded sounds, or vowel teams. All right. I'm going to head back to the content page because now I want to show you how to access the Spanish-English paired text. So under content type, we see paired text, and you can select Spanish-English. And then this gives you all of the Spanish-English paired texts available for grades 2 to 5. I'm going to click on the school year. So here you see the Spanish passage And the audio is also in Spanish, and the English passage with the audio in English. And then we have the question set that's going to be um, available for the English passage. And you can select if you want the full question set or the express question set. You can assign it. And remember, you can include audio. So you'll have Spanish audio and English audio. Select the type of comprehension questions you want, the full set or the express would be just 5 multiple choice. Select that class, and you can go ahead and assign. So when I sign into the student account, you'll see what all of this looks like for your students and what they can see. Going back to the content page again, under content type, you can select book studies. Here you'll have access to the book studies that we offer. There's also a drop-down menu if you're looking for a specific text. We have many book studies available, or you can filter by grade level. And then finally, our passages and our text-dependent question sets. They're really popular. I like to use the grade level filter to kind of help narrow down that list, and then select reading passages and question set. You can also filter by genre. So I'll select fiction. And here we go. Here's a great text, Carlos in the Spotlight. So you can include the vocabulary activity, have the question set. When you go and assign, make sure you select those. The vocabulary is, optional. But again, if you're looking to build vocabulary and have your students, play around with those words, really great idea to include that. Select your class and go ahead and assign. Okay. So basically, to sum up, if you're new or a returning user, the teacher guide is going to be really helpful. You can locate the teacher guide on the top right. And on the content page, using the various filter options to find what you need. All right, now I'm going to sign out of my teacher account, and let's take a look at what your students will see. Okay. So we've just gone ahead. I've already, assigned all of these for you, but I just want to kind of jump in. Let me go to article a day. So we selected, something that I want to point out. So right here, remember when we selected turn on ELL support, right? So this student can read and listen to directions in her home language. We selected student choice, so that's why students can see all of the article a day passages. And we also have the decodables tab. So I'm going to just click on the first passage. We've selected audio, so this student can listen. Some other great features is students can expand for a distraction-free view. Students can also increase the size of their text. So this is medium, large, and extra large. You can include paragraph numbers. You can also use a guided reading strip. Students can use the split screen to be able to go back to the text as they complete their book of knowledge entries. Students can also click on the bolded words in blue, the vocabulary words. If it's a noun, it's also going to include an image. They can click on the audio option to hear the correct pronunciation or listen to the definition, listen to an example of a sentence with that word included in it, and they'll include translations. Okay, and going back to the assignments, um, the decodables are connected to the article a day. So I'm just going to show you how students can access the decodable. And even though they are able to listen to the article a day passage, we want them to apply those phonics skills independently. So there is no audio option here. They'd be reading independently. And then when they finish reading, they can click on I'm done reading. Going back to the assignments, I also want to point out the Spanish English paired text that we assigned this student. So the first thing you'll see is your students will see a box with directions that are available in English and Spanish, right? So letting them know that um, this is a Spanish article to help them learn about the school calendar so you can better understand the English text about a similar topic. The Spanish text is connected to the English text, but it's not a direct translation of it. So it's going to be topically connected, giving them an entry point into the English text. They can listen to the passage. They can highlight or annotate, so take notes. And those same features that I showed you before, right? Increasing the text size, including paragraph numbers or that guided reading strip. So this is the first passage in Spanish. They can click on the arrow to move over to the English passage. And then they can answer comprehension questions. And they can submit that. And then finally, I want to point out the fiction passage that we assigned this student. So because we included the vocabulary, as soon before they even read the passage, they're going to be exposed to key vocabulary words and they can reflect on their knowledge of it, right? So announce, story, translate, and then they are able to read the passage or listen to the passage if you select audio. They can click on the blue vocabulary words. Again, if it's a noun, there will be a photograph that pops up as well, and they'll see translations. Students can also highlight or annotate, so they can make a note. Then they can complete the word builder activity. So this is their second time being exposed to those key vocabulary terms. So as I'm not sure if you can hear that, but as they build the word, when they're done, it'll actually say the word out loud. And they'll have another opportunity to reflect, after reading the text, if they've, you know, gotten a better understanding of the meaning. And then they can go ahead and answer those comprehension questions. I'm going to log out. And one more time, I'll log in as a teacher just so you can see um, assignments and progress, right? So we just assigned those, I completed, so you can actually see students' responses to the multiple choice. Or, if they've entered a book of knowledge entry, you'd be able to see that right there. All right, so I'm gonna switch back because we are almost at the end of our presentation. I know that Suzanne has been answering your questions in the chat. Oh, perfect. How do you select the home language? That's a wonderful question. When you go to class admin, you can create a class by clicking the button in the top right corner. Once you create that class and you add their names in, you can go ahead, click on their name, and select the ELL and extra support features, and you can select the language that they speak at home. I'm looking at the screen and you don't see all the language options, so I'll read them off to you. English, Spanish, Chinese Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Korean, Arabic, and Haitian Creole. So you have those options to select, and that's going to give your students a chance to read and listen to directions in the language they speak at home. Our next question: how do I delete the prior year's classes from my roster? Yep. So we'll go back to class admin and you can archive a class. And when you do that, they move over to archived classes. I'm going to go on over to the questions. So this is a really wonderful question. Will you be adding Haitian Creole to paired texts, right? This is a brand new product, and so far we have Spanish and English, and it is our hope to expand in other languages. But for now, we do offer support by including, that ELL support. So students who speak Haitian Creole can at least read and listen to the directions in that language. Who sets the speed for the article to be read? Will the guided reading strip move at set speed? It's a really great question. So students can adjust the speed that the passage is being read to them. I'm going to go back to this passage. And next to the speed, you'll see that it can be slowed down or sped up. And the students are in control of the guided reading strip themselves, so they are controlling the pace. Okay, can you remind everyone about the reading survey at the beginning of the year, the reading mindset snapshot? I'm going to ask Suzanne if you could um, uh, comment on this question and share a helpful link for this person. Thank you so much. Next question: can ReadWorks be connected to Google Classroom? Yes. When you go to hold on, create a class. There we go. So when you have a new class and you want to create a class, you can put the names in yourself, or you can select the import from Google Classroom option, and that would take you to your Google Classroom. Unfortunately, I can't demo that for you because I don't have a Google Classroom account, but these are the steps you'd follow to connect your Google Classroom. Okay, so if a student is being switched over to a new teacher, well, you have a couple options. Let's say you are sharing students with another teacher, you could add a co-teacher to your class. So you could go, when you select the class, right up here on options, it says manage co-teachers, and you can put in your that other teacher's email address, and you can add them to that class if you have students in common. All right. Before I answer any more questions, I just want to, go over my email address. If you have a question or you think of a question afterwards and you want some support, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is tamika@readworks.org.